Hello, folks. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, when or wherever you may be. Uh, Give me just one moment, please. Welcome to the Saturday stream. Today, I have a couple of stuff I want to talk with you. I hope everyone is all right. I hope that you are a bit better than me. This heat has been really getting to me. Uh, I just had to leave the house a couple of hours ago, 1 hour or 2 hours ago, and I have to tell you this. I have never felt this kind of heat in the coast. It's absolutely brutal. It even makes you shiver. Okay, it's that kind of heat. It falls down on you like if someone was getting a warm blanket and putting it over your head. It's that harsh. But let's not talk about my adventures and difficulties with the heat. Let's talk about our stream and what we are going to be talking about. Well, today I have a couple of assorted news, and then I have to talk about Farage and the Clacton election, of course, and I'm going to talk a lot about the United States. Okay? Hello, Billy Kershaw. Thank you, my friend. Uh, so, today, as I was saying, I'm going to be talking a lot about Trump, uh, uh, also about the conditions of the American soldiers on the ships, which, especially the sailors, which is absolutely abhorrent, and a couple of more things that I want to talk about in terms of economy. So, but first, let's start with the stream. We are going to start with yet more protests in Greece against the presence of Israel. This is becoming the norm, not just in Greece, but also I have seen it here in Portugal, in Spain, in Italy, if I'm not mistaken, and even in France. This is turning out to be very ugly and bad for the Israeli people. They are turning into pariahs in the world stage. Apparently, they are trying to continue to make a normal living, normal life. Comes the summer, they want to go on a cruise and whatever. But I think they are finding out that nothing is like the same anymore. And this might be harsh for me, but they do need this reality check so that they understand how much hated they are. And I don't like it. Okay, I have no Schadenfreude about this. I, the same way that I wouldn't want to beat up anyone or something like that just because they are of country X or country Y. I wouldn't want this to come upon anyone. But the truth is this: the Israeli people has been cooperating or by inaction with the genocide in Gaza. And this is what is happening in Gaza, okay? Look, people come at me with definitions, and I tell them this. Tell me the definition of a genocide. It's what is happening. Oh, they were attacking and this and that. My friend, okay? So, because they kidnapped some people in at the festival and killed them and whatever, and they committed horrific crimes, you are going to exterminate and dislocate an entire population. You are going to invade Lebanon. You are going to do all the crap that you are doing, including what is being done towards Iran and all of this. Proportion. And I don't think people really understand how. Today, this is one of the themes that one of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the stream. which is future consequences. Sorry, my little kitten has just come to say hello. I'm going to talk about future consequences of the actions of the Israel, and particularly in this case, in this stream, about the USA. Because I think it's very important for people to understand what is coming down the road. Because I really don't look. A lot of people criticize me because I don't watch Midas. Apparently, they think I don't. Midas Touch, that I don't watch this and that. I'm just watching democratic streamers or establishment Democrats or whatever they want. Look, my friends, I watch it all. And today we are going to have one video by Midas and a couple of shots by Midas too. To the end of the video in context to what I'm going to be talking about, okay? But without further ado, let's start with the stream and let's watch the first video, okay? Let's go.
The Israeli cruise ship the Crown Iris was greeted with protests after docking at the Greek city of Piraeus on Friday. The luxury cruise ship is operated by Israeli firm Mano Maritime and has been the target of demonstrations over the last year when it has docked at Greek ports. Protesters gathered at the ship in response to a call from unions, advocacy groups and pro-Palestinian organizers to express their opposition to its arrival.
Πρόκειται για κοινούς εγκληματίες και ναι, δεν τους θέλουμε στον τόπο μας. Δεν τους θέλουμε.
Συνεχίζουμε να στηρίζουμε τον αγώνα των Παλαιστινίων ώστε να αποκτήσουν την πατρίδα τους, να ζουν ανεξάρτητα και ελεύθερα και να σταματήσει η γενοκτονία την οποία υφίσταται.
The protesters' organizers said they demand an immediate end to all cooperation between Greece and Israel and are also calling for an end to any Greek involvement in Israel's plans in the Middle East.
Now, I can already hear some of the comments that will be done when I show this video, okay, or when anyone sees it. They are going to say, oh, this was just a couple of lefties, of malcontent people. But the first thing I'm going to tell you is this, or perhaps calling them anti-Semite, which is another risible one, as if the Greeks did not suffer enough with World War II, as if people are so ignorant they don't even know that. Hello, Surfadas, welcome. But what I'm going to point out to you with this clip that I just showed you from Euronews, and this is just an example, like I told you, this type of things, it has been happening all over Europe, okay? I saw it in Portugal, right here in the Algarve. I saw it in Spain. I saw it in South France. I saw it in Italy. And I saw it in a couple of more places that I don't really recall. But look, I'm not trying to exacerbate the issue. But the people that were protesting, these were regular people. You had a middle-aged man, middle-aged woman. You saw that you had teenagers and young people in the protest. They were not being violent, they were just making their voices be heard, which is a different way of doing things here in Europe than in what you would see in the United States. Here we can freely gather and protest. And I'm not talking about the United Kingdom, because recently with their new laws they have been stifling the right of people to protest. They allowed the extreme right to burn down cars and make a spectacle out of themselves, but just pick up a flag to support Palestine or to support anyone that's against this stupid war in the Middle East and what is happening in Palestine, and you are instantly a terrorist group and an anti-Semite, which is absolutely risible. to be against the policies, to be against the way a state is acting, and to call it for it what it is, that is not to be an anti-Semite. An anti-Semite would be someone that has an irrational fear and wishes to destroy a Semitic race. This is basically what it is. You are not anti-Jew if you are anti-Israel. I know Jews that are anti-Israel. What's the big deal? I know a lot of Jewish people. I know. I heard. Personally, I only know two Jewish people. Okay? Personally. But I know, but I will talk about that person. That person, he has rabbis in his family. Okay? And he did not feel safe in Israel with his family because he does not practice Judaism. He doesn't care about religion, and his wife is from another nationality, another European nationality that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want people to be relocated or some shit like that. By my comments, okay? I don't like to talk about people's personal life. But he relocated with his wife to here, to Portugal, because he wanted some peace of mind and to be in a place where he could be peacefully with his wife, with his family, and to have a normal life. Because, in Israel, it's just like in the United States, it's a continuous indoctrination. And when I tell you that these types of things only happen in authoritarian regimes, indoctrination, a lot of Americans are going to look at me and call me a liar and call me a communist, which I'm not. I'm not even a leftist. If you want to call me something, I don't know, call me social democrat or neutral. I believe in a state that with the control over society that it's needed to keep things to keep a state that is able to provide for its citizens. But I don't believe in a state that continuously tells people how to act and how to think and how to speak. But all of this, it's indoctrination. And I'm going to be talking about this further down in the stream. But the fact is, Israel and the United States are going to pay a lot for this. And I'm not going to judge. I am not say I have no schadenfreude about this again, but I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying absolutely nothing. I'm just saying something that will happen. Because these actions right now that these countries are taking, there will be consequences. Also, I'm not saying Iran is a bloody saint. It's not. It's a dictatorship. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you have done this, you are going to pay. And furthermore, the solution for the issues in Israel were already drawn out by previous Israeli leaders and Yasser Arafat. The true state solution. You don't want to deal with the Palestinians, right? Israelis, put a wall. Then don't let them enter in your area, so to speak, and let it be done. Because this shit started in 1946, and it's not just the fault of the Israelites. It's also the fault of the United States and the United Kingdom that established this state of Israel. The only country that said something against it because they saw that you would have problems in the future was France. But France was a bloody ruin after World War II. Okay, but de Gaulle, he knew, he knew this would. Why? Why did de Gaulle knew? Because he knew the character of the people that live in that region. He knew you are going to put these people here just because you want the Jews to return to the Holy Land, so that in the future you can call upon the apocalypse and the second coming of Jesus and all of that crap. You want to do this. This is going to give us problems in the future. Well, surprise, surprise. Remember, he also said the same thing about the United Kingdom being a part of the EU. Look at what the United Kingdom did to us. Because everyone talks about the damage that Brexit has had on the UK. But no one talks about the damage that Brexit has had on the EU. Economically, socially, and in a lot of areas. No one likes to talk about these things, but we need to talk about these things. Because the only way you can solve a problem is if you talk about it. But again, I'm going to, further down the stream, I'm going to... Yes, Sir Fidesz. Crap. Yep. We are going to talk about this further down the stream when we start to talk about Trump and the latest. Because this stream, last stream I didn't talk much about the United States, but this stream I'm going to have to be, I have to talk about it and to approach a couple of subjects that I think are important to be discussed. Now, let's watch some more calm news and about what is happening in Brussels. Let's watch.
The historic central square in Brussels is temporarily covered in a colorful bed of flowers as this year's edition of the annual flower carpet celebrates Japanese culture. Hiro Sugiyama, the artist behind the floral arrangement, brought the great wave of Kanagawa to life with hundreds of thousands of flowers. By doing so, he honored one of Japan's most famous artists, Katsushika Hokusai.
もともとねはすごい色数を使っているんですけども、今回は花の色数に合わせて15、6色ということが制限があったので、その中で自分のデザインをどう見せるかっていうところにとても苦労しました。で、この場で来てお花を見ながら、その心配もなく本当に鮮やかに再現されていく姿を見てとても興奮しています。
The collaboration marks the 160th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Belgium and Japan. The organizers of the event said the carpet is more than just an artwork, but it is also a symbol of bringing people and cultures together. The carpet features more than 700,000 flowers and measures roughly 70 meters long and 24 meters wide. On Thursday, volunteers worked for hours to arrange the flowers into the artwork that the artist had intended. The design will be visible in the Belgian capital until Sunday.
All right. So, why did this guy that is talking about politics just showed you a couple of flower designs in in the Belgian capital? You know something? This is another difference between Europeans and Americans that Europeans have in common with Asians, like the Chinese and the Japanese particularly, which is true. With small gestures represent an intention. When you start to see these common cultural ties that are getting to be more and more frequent, from the cosplay convention in Lisbon that happened a couple of time ago, to cultural exchanges and businessmen and businesswomen traveling to Japan and traveling from Japan to here. For example, they coming to visit a city here in South Portugal, and then announcing they are going to build. They already bought the terrain, and all the licenses have been given to build a new factory here. From their initiatives with the army to exchange technology. In case of Portugal, it was a lot of maritime and drone technology. With Belgium, with Germany, with France. I showed you this video because I wanted to tell you this. When you see these types of things happening, I don't want you to look at this as a simple cultural exchange. This is how civilized people show an intent. Let's have a cultural meeting here in Brussels, the unofficial capital of the EU, where the EU Parliament is, and let's have a Japanese cultural event. Days after the United States propped up the yen, trying to, and I will explain to you why they did this further down the stream, trying to shorten their debt. I showed you this video because it's important for you to understand this. When you watch the news, sometimes it happens the same thing to me also. Sometimes when we are watching the news, we just watch it. We don't see what is written underneath of what we are seeing. And I saw at least 3 more events of this type of cultural events or whatever between the EU and Japan. I am seeing the diplomatic ties growing. Just a couple of months ago, we saw the Germans and the Japanese in military exercises in the Pacific area. We are seeing the future. This will be a future without the United States. And I'm not talking about the United States might continue to be an ally. I'm not talking about this. I think people are being oversimplistic when they say that. Okay, it's going to crumble in this. No. It's going to be weaker and less important. And look, and that's natural, and change is inevitable, and like the Romans used to say, sic transit gloria mundi. Okay, we should not think about it a lot. But as I was telling you this, I have seen these cultural events and this diplomatic contacts increasing not by the year, but by the month. Every month you hear something about it. And like I was saying, you just watch the news and think, oh, this is interesting. He's drawing a Japanese traditional pattern, the Great Wave. If you don't know this, it's a very famous painting in Japanese art. And they are all celebrating, oh, it's so beautiful. No. I want you to see this the way I am seeing it. This, my friends, is a sign. Remember the 4th of July and the 250 years of American independence. Remember that they tried to rally a couple of people to say happy birthday to the United States in Europe, and they failed miserably. They had to pay people to be there, and still people would not come. this was paid by the Belgian authorities, probably with EU funding, because it's a cultural event, and cultural events are co-funded by the EU that has a specific subsidy to promote this type of cultural events all over the EU. I think it's interesting. And now, my friends, let's I've been on it. Let's talk about the fall of Mr. Infantino. Okay, and to tell you the truth, the quicker we get rid of Mr. Infantino in FIFA, the better. Let's watch.
New Zealand has withdrawn its support for FIFA President Gianni Infantino, calling for an independent review, including into his now scrapped plan to sell private stakes in a FIFA commercial subsidiary. That puts New Zealand at odds with Oceania's Football Confederation, which welcomed the scrapped investment plan's cancellation but voiced continued support for Infantino. It's part of a widening split in world football. UEFA and other confederations want new leadership, while South America and Africa are standing by Infantino. He's also picked up support from 6 Arab federations, including Qatar and Morocco, who say they have, quote, full confidence in his leadership. Infantino is due to seek re-election in 2027.
Before I go into the video, Surfadas 494. The 250th celebration was short-lived even in US. Oh, I bet it was. Who wants to celebrate such a thing with all the crap that has been happening? It's really sad to see that Mr. Trump, he spoiled what should have been a significant anniversary. Okay, 250 years is little if you if I consider how old my country is. Okay, but to the United States it's important, and it should have been celebrated in some other way than with MMA festivals or whatever in the White House's lawn, and sweaty men and one puking. What a lovely show. Now, let's talk about Mr. Infantino. Mr. Infantino is losing the support of everyone. He has lost the support of the major money that comes out of Europe, and now he's trying to get the support of the major money that comes out of Africa, North Africa, and of the Islamic world. Okay, and to tell you the truth, I think he will fail miserably again. Perhaps he will be able to survive for the next foreseeable future, but his leverage over FIFA, okay, his leverage over FIFA, it has come to, pardon me, it has come to an end. Exactly, Sir Fides. Our alliance is 400 years old. Hello, Viper Scott. Alistair, welcome, my friend. No notification again. Yeah. That's YouTube for you. I swear too much for them, perhaps. Now, let me just conclude this. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that Infantino, he is in borrowed time. He might sleaze his way out of this issue and be able to at least end his term more or less normally, but the power that he had when he had UEFA, Europe, and CONCACAF from South America behind him is gone. And in football world, if you don't have the support of Europe and South America, you're dead in the water, because these are the two major players in football all over the world. I'm not saying other countries are not important. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm talking about in the sheer number of supporters, of stadiums, of clubs, of budgets, and all of that. If you lose that, you're dead in the water. And now he's trying to scrap some money anyway, anyhow, to continue in his box, so to speak. Now, I have some worrying news from Europe because the volcanoes are waking up again, and this might have to do with the heat that will cause these events also. If you don't know this, the heat can cause volcanic eruptions. It can accelerate certain processes, and it can make us much more vulnerable to its effects. So let's watch the first video and then we can talk. Let's go.
Catania Airport, one of the main hubs on the Italian island of Sicily, remained closed on Friday after officials extended the suspension of all flights for another day amid Mount Etna's intense and continued volcanic activity. Hundreds of passengers have been stuck at the Italian airport trying to find other ways to get to their destinations. Flights were already being disrupted last week after Europe's largest volcano sent a large amount of smoke and volcanic ash thousands of kilometers into the air, triggering all regional airports' closure. Other major airports on the island which have been and remain closed include Comiso, about 90 kilometers south of Catania, and 130 kilometers south of Etna. Italian media outlets say at least 700 flights have been grounded in Sicily, affecting some 40,000 travelers. Authorities say it's not yet clear when flights will be cleared for takeoff as the mountain continues to erupt. The last recorded eruption happened overnight into Friday, sending balls of orange fire into the air and huge plumes of smoke.
Now, the eruption of Mount Etna, it will continue to, how can I say this? It's going to affect the weather even more, okay? Because it's going to send ashes into the sky, into the atmosphere. Perhaps it will diminish the temperature somewhat, but look, it's really bad. It's really bad because it's already affecting the. Let me just read this comment by Viper Scott. I'm on a tangent. Had an encounter with SDL in Edinburgh today, about 12:03 from Scotland. The rest were English folks busting the lies and bullcrap they spoke. Man, I'm sorry, Viper Scott. That shit, man. Scotland is being. Unfortunately, Scotland is the playground for those lunatics. In all senses, and it's just not fair, at least not in my opinion. No, but we are going to need to make a video specifically about Scotland and how Scotland came to be in the Union, so that we can perhaps disclose a couple of the lies that have been coming over the years, talking about voluntary unions and all of that crap, when we all perfectly know how it came to be. Now, folks, as I was saying, the eruption of Etna, it's going to, it probably won't affect my country, okay, Portugal. We are too far. But it's going to affect North Africa, it's going to affect the entire south of Italy, and the Spanish Mediterranean coast and the French Mediterranean coast. The effects that are going to happen, we are going to see them now as time passes by. But we are also going to have to be on the lookout for fire damage, because the eruption may cause more fires because the land is very dry. It has not rained in a couple of months. But again, look, let's see where this takes us. these are just current news that I thought I should talk about. Perhaps you are in England or in the UK and you want to come on vacations. If I was you, I would not come on vacations to that area of the Mediterranean just now, because you are bound to have issues with flights and all of that. Viper Scott, my friend, please, hey, use the chat to talk about it, okay? Don't worry about it. No, you know I support Scotland. That has always been my position. You know that, okay? Now, folks, and the authorities already had their issues with the eruption of the bloody volcano, and now they have the issue with what comes with the volcano, which are the tourists. Let's watch this video. Look at those idiots. Look, I would like to understand the kind of people that are stupid, this stupid, to go near an active volcano and to take pictures and to do TikToks. Look, these people, they are complete lunatics. Do you realize how dangerous this is? I have been near an active volcano, okay, in the Azores. All of those idiots that were lining up taking pictures, all it took was for one of those slow dripping lava flows that is coming. All it would take was for an explosion of gas, and like Billy Kershaw is saying here in the chat, gases are highly toxic. Yes, they are, but all it would take was for a simple explosion there to barbecue their ass. And I listened to the authorities, the Italian authorities, telling people to stay the fuck out, don't go near the bloody volcano, it's extremely dangerous. They don't even know what type of eruption this is going to be, because eruptions are normal, okay? Let's not try to transform this into some kind of world-ending event. But when they start, the way they behave, it's something that needs to be carefully studied. And these idiots, without knowing what is going to happen, they stand there and take pictures. Good God. No, but again, what are we going to do? I think it's the TikTok generation. But there were older people there, and in other videos that I also saw. So don't come and tell me it's the young people. It's the dumb people. Now, I am drinking juice. Okay, folks? No beer. Now, folks, now let's talk about Clacton. Unfortunately, our dear Count Beanface did not win. Unfortunately. But it's so funny to watch Mr. Farage defend himself from the bin. And it's so funny to see him calling the other candidates the establishment. And you know, I even comment on this on a video, and a couple of reform guys, they were really pissed at me. But I say, I never saw the British establishment wearing bins in their head. I never saw King Sausage Fingers, no, dressed in full regalia and then with a bean in his head. How delusional can you be to not understand that the establishment, as you are calling it, is precisely Nigel Farage, a rich bastard that lives on disaster capitalism and on shady investments and on shady money that he receives who knows from where. No one actually knows how much money this guy has. And you call him the anti-establishment. Oh, Nigel, he's anti-establishment and this and that. Look, are you effing kidding with me? You know, I'm working class, my friends, okay? I work for a bloody living. I will admit I'm educated, okay? I got an education that my parents provided me education. But I'm working class, okay? I work with my hands. I know what a rich fucker is when I see one. And that is what Mr. Nigel Farage is. He's a rich bastard that has been taking advantage from idiots like the ones in form that are voting with him, for decades. This guy has been the tick on the British politics for decades. When will it end? This is the question that I have. Now, let's watch the video and then we can talk a bit about it.
British far-right politician Nigel Farage comfortably won a local by-election on Friday after all the main political parties boycotted the vote in protest. The Reform UK leader picked up over 22,000 votes in an election that saw a 44% turnout and called the win a, quote, resounding victory. His main rival wasn't Labour or the Conservatives, it was Count Binface, the alter ego of a comedian who campaigns in a bin costume. The vote was triggered by Farage's own resignation last month, amid a parliamentary investigation into undeclared financial gifts, a probe that now restarts. Critics say Farage designed the whole contest to dodge scrutiny.
Alright, there he was, a little Farage in his... the man has no... I don't think he knows how to dress himself. Okay? He either looks like a gay porno actor from the 70s or your drunk uncle that has just arrived from America or from some kind of weird place. This is ridiculous. Let me just read the comments here. Viper Scott, still happy that the Count Binface got nearly 10,000 votes anyway. They're going to be another by-election in a few weeks, in my opinion. Yes. They should bring Surfadesk. They should bring charges up on crypto. Christmas for illegal yet electronic. Yes, the crypto. Yes. This is interesting. He got 1,000 more votes. He got 67% of the vote, and Binface got 27.5% of the votes. Yes. Look, it's interesting to watch this because in what world, let me ask you this, in what world does an actor with a bean in his face has better proposals, even with all the wacky stuff he talked about. But the guy actually had some serious proposals. Farage had none. I will ask you here, did any of you read his manifesto or whatever? These people, they do nothing for their councils. And the people that voted for him, I'm sorry, but if you voted for Nigel Farage instead of either not voting or voting for Count Pinface, then you are a dumb racist just like all the other voters from Reform. Because, you know, he did this, like they were saying here in the video, he did this to dodge the accusations that now are going to restart. But my issue with all of this shit is that they do a lot of investigations, they have a lot of commissions, they have a lot of inquiries, and then in the end, nothing, nada. Nothing happens. You want to know how an investigation is? And I'm, again, and I use my country as an example sometimes, but this is not a paradise, okay? This is not a perfect utopia. We also have issues. We also have corruption that sometimes we catch them, okay? But you want to know how an investigation like this would happen here? Well, number one, donations to politicians and political parties are illegal in Portugal, as they are in most of Europe. Okay, it's extremely rare. Meaning, politicians here, they don't campaign with money. They campaign with volunteer work. Meaning, if you want to be a part of a party or support a politician, you are going to give your time and perhaps your money to buy things for that politician. Parties are absolutely banned from receiving money. Why? So that you cannot buy politicians. You can, look, you can be an interested lobby and, for example, support a party that goes in the same direction as your policies, okay, of what you want to support. You can be an anti-abortion or whatever you want to be, no issues there. But the fact is, you cannot give money. You cannot intervene economically in the political process. And of course, we are all adults here, and we understand that the world is not a perfect place. But the issue is that here, things are actually investigated. So if this happened, number one, Mr. Farage would be automatically suspended from his job and from all political activity and from even contacting media to talk about it. He would be completely suspended from doing anything of this. Then they would start to investigate. They will have to know where the money comes from, where did it go, how much did Farage receive, who paid it, and why. And in the end of this, you want to know what would happen? Mr. Farage would be in the court defending himself against a court file, a court accusation, or whatever. Because what happened in the United Kingdom with all of these donations is a crime. It's a crime. You cannot, in the United States, suffer death, you know, it happens. Sometimes you have good politicians that are not able to go forward because they lack the funds. And people call that democracy. No, I call democracy a system like mine, in which you can associate yourself to a party. You can offer your time. You can even look. Imagine this: you're the owner of a restaurant, and you can offer your restaurant for a political rally. Okay, or you can, for example, cater a meeting of the party, or you can offer a place where that party can hold their meetings. But parties have a fixed budget from the Republic, and all of their accounting is seen both by the Parliament, okay, and also by two independent courts. And after we entered in the EU, they also have the EU Commission that also looks into it. It's simple. Mr. Farage is a corrupt person. He's in the list. Everyone knows this. He's on the list of politicians that were corrupted with Russian money and with American money, which I sometimes wonder if it's not the same money, because both Putin's and Trump's interests coincide. I have serious doubts, okay? But let's just call it Russian money, because in that one I am sure. You have Nigel Farage. You have a lot of Tory politicians. You have a lot of Labour politicians. Okay, you have Boris Johnson. They are all in that list, and there are also politicians from here that are on the list. But the difference is that here they were investigated. Even the former Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, he was investigated in Germany. I don't know how it was, but I don't know how the case ended, because right now I don't recall. But I think he got a suspended sentence, meaning he was condemned to jail, but suspended, which is normal, okay? If the person has not done anything wrong in his entire life, you are not just going to jail a person for being a corrupt idiot, but you are going to suspend him from taking part in any kind of political activities. Recently, it also happened to the AfD, the German right wings. A lot of them were investigated for receiving money from the United States and were suspended from being in office, from being in political activities. And the same thing happened to Le Pen. Okay, she has been tied to Russian money. She has been suspended from politics, and now she can defend whatever she wants to defend. Look, I'm not going to meddle in those waters, but the only thing I have to say is this: there are courts to take care of this, and it doesn't matter to me. All right, let me just read this. Viper Scott. Some policies were spot on. I could have got behind them, and I'm talking about the bin face one's solar panels. Yes. If you resign, you can get elected in the same place. Adjust you, I would back. Yes. Swimming in the Thames. No one deserves that. Yes, Sufferdes. Most politicians are paid for APAC. Exactly. Sufferdes. Though that those same arms dealers in France were expelled. Interesting, isn't it? Look, I keep telling you this. I don't like the ties that Andy Burnham has with Israel. Just like Starmer also had it. I really don't like those ties. I think it's going to backfire on the UK, and the people that are going to suffer are the UK citizens. Okay? It's not going to be good. Now, folks, let's continue with the videos. I have a couple more I want to show you. And now let's talk about this video, about the renewed pressure of the United States on the trade agreement with the EU. Let's watch this one.
The European Union pushed back at renewed trade pressure from the United States on Friday, who urged the EU to weaken its major Green Deal business rules. Washington's EU ambassador Andrew Pudster urged the EU to change two major environmental and human rights laws to match last year's EU-US trade deal. In a post on X, Pudster wrote that the US would take any action necessary if the EU does not address rules it sees as unfair to US businesses. The EU laws cited by Pudster require large companies operating in the EU, including US firms, to report on their environmental and social impacts, including working conditions in their supply chains. In response, a European Commission spokesperson said the EU was very clear on the fact that its rules and right to set its own regulations are not up for negotiation. The EU has already dialed back the scope of both laws under pressure from businesses both inside and outside the bloc.
Now, let's talk about what this really is. I want to recall you, and then we are going to go into the entire Trump saga after this one. I want to talk with you about a video that I showed, in one of my other streams about the EU saying that if the United States doesn't comply with the trade agreement that they signed, then the EU is going to call it off. My friends, now, if they try they are trying all of this kinds of pressures. Okay, they are doing shit like what they are doing in Greenland. Okay, bringing drilling drilling equipment without having the authorizations to drill, and they are not going to drill. If they do that, the Danish army is going to seize their equipment, and they are going to try to create some kind of an incident, and then Denmark is going to call on the rest of allies, and then the United States is going to have a choice, which is to tackle. Look, have no doubts. This is what is going to happen if it escalates to that level. Because all of this shit is just pricks. Little pricks, you know. They are just trying to soften positions on the EU. But the case here is that they are having the absolutely opposite effect. And I know that politicians in the United States have warned the Trump administration that by doing this, you are even going to make things worse. Because I will repeat this ad infinitum. I will repeat this again and again and again and again. You cannot force us to buy your shit. When I go to the supermarket, I rarely see it. But if I see anything remotely connected to the United States, I don't buy it. I don't even buy the sodas, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, that have been here for decades. They have been here since before I was even born, producing their products here and in Spain. I don't buy it. Look, I just went to the supermarket right now, and I don't know if you can see it, but the national brands, you cannot see it because of the light, but the national brands of sodas and all of that, they're being sold. The store brands of Lidl, I went to the Lidl, they were being sold. The bloody Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, they were there in the same place. Because they take thrice You understand, 4 times the time to sell it. Because most people are not buying it. You want to know who is buying the most Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola? You want to know? I'm going to tell you who it is. Tourists passing by that don't know anything about local drinks, soft drinks and whatever, and buy something that they know what it is. Okay. And foreigners that are working here and that also still do not know any better. Because the local people, us, we're not buying that shit. I talked with someone that works in Lidl. Someone that I know for years. You want to know what she tells me? She tells me this. It's like this. We order from the store, we put it on the shelf, and we leave it there. Before, by the end of the month, more or less, we would have to ask for more from the store. Right now, it's around 3 months to 4 months. McDonald's and KFCs, for example, here in Portugal, they are functioning on the red. You know what functioning on the red is? They are losing money and they are putting in money from other places where they are earning some money. Confused? Let me explain. They are keeping their stores open because McDonald's and KFC, it's not a bloody restaurant. Sorry, it's not a restaurant. Okay, that is not a restaurant. Even the European versions, it's not a restaurant. Okay, they are keeping their operations open, and they are losing money, but they want to keep it because they cannot risk losing that market by grabbing money. Imagine they got a profit in another shop. They use that money to do their financial alchemy to sustain this store, and this is what they have been doing. And what I know, and this is, take it with a grain of salt, please, because this comes from crisscross of information, is that they are losing a lot of money. I think the country in which they are losing more money is in France. They are losing money all over because people are not buying American. People go into a shop, and if they have products from other places, they are going to buy those products, and they are not going to buy the one that is labeled from the United States. It's as simple as this. And like you guys and girls are saying here in the, let me see, in the chat, like Sufferdesk here is saying, for example, Canada is making a mark for sure, and it's the sense of size of the USA, population speaking. Exactly. They are now negotiating Kuzma. Okay? They are now negotiating Kuzma. And Canada is going to use, and well, the banning of American liquor on the shops as a way of making pressure. But the question here is, even if you put the liquor back in the shop, people are not going to buy it. Of course, some people will buy it. A few people will buy it, but it will never be the limit. It will never be that threshold that they used to have, that dominant position. Why? Because people don't have the memory of a chipmunk that is more intelligent than the average MAGA. People are not going to buy them. You want to know what my 20 years old nephew tells me about American media and about American products and whatever? You want to know? It's not cool. You understand what this means? America and American products are not cool. The new generations will even reject it even more. Hello, exotic doll. How are you doing? I love a fizzy kind of drink, especially in the US, UK heat waves. I also stopped buying Pepsi and Coke. I drink Vimto cans, which taste lovely. The can states manufactured in UK and in Ireland. Bravo! I do the same. I don't buy anything from them. I buy I buy the sodas from my country. There will be Viper Scott. There will be tourists buying it from bars in Scotland. It's a local brand and producer of soft drinks, Aldi and Lidl. But their soft drinks from bars factories in Scotland just sent the bottles to bars. Yes, look, you cannot force a consumer. Like if you have listened to my streams before and my videos, you know that I was born, so to speak, a baker. Okay, I was born into the business. I've worked in it up until my late 30s, and there is something that people need to understand. You cannot force a consumer to buy what you want them to buy. Sometimes it would be the most stupid thing. Sometimes the consumer would just want that type of pastry or that type of bread, and you would have to produce it and give that to the consumer, because if you try to give the consumer something else that might even be better, they would reject it. Why? Because the consumer is the one that decides what they are going to buy. And the United States doesn't understand, with all of this pressure that they are trying to bring to Europe, that you cannot force us to buy your shit. We won't buy it. Even if it's written there that we can buy it, we won't buy it. And we won't ease up on our rules and regulations. You won't. Even China obeys the rules and regulations of our market to negotiate here. Because they're not stupid. And the United States thinks he can bully us. Do they really think that they are sadly mistaken? And now Mr. Trump, if you don't know this, this is his latest. He's sending memos to countries in Europe to support and go accordingly to the USA's foreign policy in order to maintain their NATO support from the United States. This is not normal, my friends, and this will not work. Now, let's go to our Trump show, so to speak, because I have a couple of videos to show you about it. Okay, let's start with this one.
Iran has hit back at claims by US President Donald Trump that he would declare the Strait of Hormuz as US territory, asserting that the waterway would remain Iranian. Trump made the comment while speaking at a rally in New York. It was unclear how serious his statement was, and US administration officials later briefed US media that he was joking.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
In response, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi said that the Strait of Hormuz has been Iranian, is Iranian, and will remain Iranian. Referring to whether the US or Iran are in charge of the strait, he claimed the waterway would only be closed and opened under Iran's command. Along with Iran's nuclear program, the strait has been one of the key sticking points in intermittent talks between Washington and Tehran.
All right, this was the latest news of the lunatic. Now he claims that he is controlling the Straits of Iran. And then I find this funny. The guy goes up in the stage, he says the most absurd things. He talks about taking he doesn't even says the Hormuz. Did you notice straight? It's the Hormuz Strait, whatever that is. Maybe it's some kind of sexual fetish that he has or whatever. I don't know, but it's absolutely ridiculous. But the President of the United States goes before a public, in a public event, and says this shit, and then you have his little bootlicker saying, "Oh, he was only joking. Oh, he was only joking." He's not going. He's not. He was not just joking. You wanna know why? Because a president, at least in public, cannot bloody joke. This lunatic could be a sex fiend and have 20 mistresses behind closed doors. If he was out in public with his little wife by the arm, playing the good father and doing his bloody job, no one would give a fuck. This is the key issue here. This man is not fit for office. He is not fit in many ways. Again, I said this again. I am not going to talk about his physical issues because I decided not to talk about it. But from his actions and from his words, he's not fit for office. Hello, Sass. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. Now, another one. Let's watch the video about the wall of steel. Yes, he also has this kind of fetish for walls and for big things and Baba things. Oh, sorry. Did I say that? Oh, too bad. Let's watch this one.
President Donald Trump has said Washington is in control of the strategic Strait of Hormuz and will keep it, even as transit through the arterial waterway fell to a one-week low. Writing on his social media platform on Wednesday, Trump hailed the U.S. naval blockade, describing it as, quote, "wall of steel." His claim follows an earlier one made on Tuesday as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict and fully reopen the strait have continued to stall. However, Iran has again rejected Trump's latest claims. According to a post on X by Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority, the Strait of Hormuz, quote, remains blocked and will not be opened until Iran's conditions are accepted. Amid their contradictory claims, data from a trade intelligence firm revealed that maritime traffic via the Strait of Hormuz was close to a 3-month low. Only 13 ships passed across the strait on Tuesday, around 90% fewer than the daily average of 130 prior to the US and Israel attacking Iran on February 28, after which Tehran effectively closed the strait.
And there you go. The wall of steel. And look, you really have to question the sanity, even the sanity of a reporter reporting on this. Look, let's go back to the beginning, before all of this started. The straits were open, the ships were passing by, and there was little to no problem with maritime traffic. Okay? There was little to no disturbance to the traffic. Now, we have this situation in the Strait of Hormuz, caused by the United States and by Israel. And also in the Red Sea, we are also having the lunatics of the Houthis also trying to do the same shit in the Red Sea. And before that, we had the Somali pirates that are still there and are still disturbing the traffic. And you have this lunatic that decides it's a bloody good idea. Let's attack Iran. And he never thought they would shut down the straits. My friend, even back in the 80s, when I sometimes watched politicians and journalists talking about these things, I watched these kind of programs on TV with my dad. They always used to say this: they are not going to attack Iran, or else Iran will close the Hormuz Strait. In the 80s, now I'm feeling bloody old, but you understand, in the 80s, even before the USSR ended and all of that shit. So, is he kidding with us? And look, and the man, look, let's watch another one. Let's watch another one. Today I decided to talk about it.
President Donald Trump has imposed tariffs of up to 100% on imported drones and their components as Washington aims to rebuild American production. The US claims it can no longer afford to depend on foreign factories. European manufacturers will face a 15% rate, while British-made drones face just 10%. But to qualify, a drone's hardware and software must largely originate in the US or their home country. A tough task, as many European drones currently rely on Chinese-made parts. The steepest tariffs target larger, more advanced drones, such as those over 25 kilograms or fitted with thermal imaging. The tariff proclamation is one of several defense measures moving at once. Also on Friday, Trump ordered a fifth naval shipyard to be built, the first in 80 years. These actions follow reports of a tense exchange between Trump and US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over depleted munitions stocks due to the war in Iran. But Washington denies the argument took place.
All right. First of all, sir, for this, you served on the Lincoln. Yeah. That must not be very easy, my friend. Respect. I have a video from Midas to show you, in the end, where they are talking about the sailors and all about that. Okay. Now, let me talk about this video that I just showed you. The United States is losing the war of drone production to Europe. Okay, and they want, since they cannot force the European Union to buy American drones, they want to force the European drone companies to produce in the United States. But the issue here is simple. European companies cannot relocate to the United States to produce drones there because they do not have the manpower with the technical expertise to do it. They do not have access to the parts, and it would be economic suicide to set up any kind of factory or manufacture in the United States. And this is the truth. Even with the lack of workers' rights that the United States has, that would somehow look like an enticement for any kind of capitalism. They won't do it. You want to know why? Because their headquarters are in the EU, and if they start to associate with that type of production, meaning not giving workers' rights and all of that, they are going to fall under the laws of the EU and be fined, and perhaps even stop from producing at all. Sorry, bit dry. It's getting hot in here. Let me just increase the fan a bit. It's so hot here. Now, let's continue. this is just another pathetic move that he is trying to make in order to reverse what is already irreversible. Because the American military complex, Trump failed to understand something. He failed to understand that these people will take their money out of the United States and invest elsewhere. Okay? You have to remember this. Because he thinks that the companies will stay in the same place and that they will come because he's putting pressure on the producers. He thinks he can bully companies to do what he wants. And he's wrong. Now, let's watch a couple of videos more where Trump is talking about people and the soldiers and all of that. Very interesting. These ones, all the videos links will be in the description. These ones are from Midas Touch, because people were criticizing me. I sometimes don't use their videos in mine. Let's watch this.
People don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country, and that's what we have. People don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country, and that's what we have. People don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country, and that's what we have. So I just say this. So for you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember, you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'll never apologize. I did the right thing. So I just say this.
Now, folks, let me just read the comments here. So you served in the ship. Okay. So for this. Folks, if you are watching this the stream afterwards, I will ask you please to open up the little panel and read the comments, because we have people here that know what they're talking about. This one I heard about, so for this. Those guys on board now are having it a whole lot worse than we did. Looks like the senior leadership went a lot more spineless since I retired. Yes. Yes, Kegsworth. Viper Scott. Kegsworth did sack a lot of high Navy officers. Surfadesk also says, seems like supply ships are not getting supplies from close shores, so it'll take much longer to get there, not to mention the availability of needed required articles. Yes. No, in Viper Scott, I heard about the drone group from Ukraine that decimated the USA forces. Yes. Look, this is as simple as this. I just put up this little shotgun shot of Trump videos to tell you this. This man is not fit for office at all. And I don't understand how any sane American person that opens up his TV and sees the president talking about the price of fuel, when you have to pump fuel in your car to go almost anywhere in the United States, because you need a car to live in the United States. And how are you not appalled with this? Because you know, if this was in France, for example, they are even worse than us here in Portugal. You would have cities burning. You would have complete chaos. People would not put up with it. And I keep listening to the same excuses. I keep listening to people saying they are too tired, they are too indoctrinated, they are afraid that there's going to be violence. Yes, there's going to be violence, but if you don't fight, you are going to be submitted. Or do you think these people will stop? They won't. And now, suffer this. I'm going to show this video. This piece that was on MS Now. I know this was in Midas, okay, and I'm just showing you the video before we go to the last part of the video of the stream, where I will be talking about Trump, the vaccination, and what that will cause to the future of the United States and the traveling from people from the United States to other places in the world. I want you to listen to this video because I think it's important. Let's watch.
The story we brought you a few days ago. MS Now Pentagon correspondent was with us here on set. Bring her reporting. Priya Sridhar on our last week about angry military families challenging the acting Secretary of the Navy over the conditions aboard the USS Lincoln as the combat mission against Iran stretches on with no clear timelines. The families of those on board raised concerns over the sailors' mental health, about safety on deck, long work days, food shortages, water contamination, moldy showers, and sailors running out of toothpaste, deodorant, soap, and other supplies. Now, new reporting shows some of those military members aboard the Lincoln have begun taking desperate measures as the aircraft carrier sets a modern-day record for the most continuous days at sea. The aircraft carrier had been on deployment for well over 260 days after leaving its home port of San Diego on November 21st. Military Times reports one woman says her husband was repeatedly overextended before he attempted to jump overboard from the carrier. She adds that he's scared and remains on medical hold. Another woman tells the outlet her husband was on watch when he saw a shipmate preparing to go overboard as well. She says her husband intervened, calling out to the sailor before grabbing their arms and pulling them onto the deck. This is extraordinary reporting, first from Priya at MS Now, who brought us that last week. Now the Military Times guys going into detail. Since November 21st, they have been out to sea. This is the longest deployment on a ship like that ever. And when we think about, you know, what these guys and women have been going through, and with the fact that the Secretary of Defense seemed very interested and obsessed with their testosterone levels, but not whether or not they're getting real food aboard the ship as this war drags on, and who knows how long they'll be out there. There have been town hall meetings from these military families in the San Diego area where they have just erupted, understandably so, on leaders about the conditions they're hearing about from their loved ones on board that ship.
You know, it's about military readiness. This is something that we worried about on the Armed Services Committee all the time. You have to make sure the rotation is such that people can do their rotation, they can do their duty, then they can get home.
There is no rotation.
They can get back on base, they can rest up, they can be, again, prepared. So this comes down to military readiness. I've never seen anything like this before. And again, this is the problem. This is what happens when you have a defense secretary that's obsessed about the color of people's skin, whether somebody is a man or a woman, testosterone levels, this obsession over DEI. And that's all we ever hear about. And what we're not hearing about is, well, the basics. The basics always start with readiness. So men and women of the United States military, militarily ready to go into combat if called upon. And this is the exact opposite of what you do to make sure that they are prepared and ready to go. And this doesn't have anything to do with toughness or this or that or the other. There are normal rotations. This is insane by any measure at all.
Hello.
Bobby Jones here from Midas Touch and Valor Media Networks. The report you just saw.
Right. Folks, I wanted to show you this video, and I have another video to show you. And then, like I told you, Weber Scott, I'm going to talk about the money aspect of it, the dollar, the yen, all of it. Okay, folks? I'm still going to go on for a bit because there are still things I know I want to talk about. But I showed you this video because I thought it was interesting and it was relevant. I also saw other videos where they showed what the soldiers the sailors were being fed in the ship. And I don't think I have ever seen a country treat their military staff so badly, except if you're talking about North Korea, or if you're talking about Russia. The United States is at that threshold right now. I saw a meal of a soldier, a sailor, that consisted in some kind of ground meat that almost looked like it was rotten, with mashed potatoes that look like puke, and a piece of bread or something like this that look absolutely disgusting. And you have people stuck in ships, like Surfer Desk here can tell you how it is, with routines. No, Surfer Desk, I don't know how it was in your ship, what was your position, but you would probably have a scale, a schedule. You will have to do this on this day, this on that day, this completely repeated. Then all of the military things that you have to do in the ships, you have to keep the weapons on check. You have to do all of that. Okay? And then you could at least have the solace of having something good, or at least bearable to eat, and some peace of mind, and also to not be so many days, months at sea. And they are surprised that sailors are killing themselves, are hurting themselves, so they have to be removed from the ship. This is look, I put myself, I always do what my father used to tell me, that is to put myself in other people's shoes. And I would put myself in the shoes of those guys. Look, you would go insane. The men, look, they have absolutely no consideration for the soldiers, no consideration for the militaries. And they have broken the cardinal rule of any authoritarian regime, which to me, look, I'm glad that they did it. Many years ago, I read something about the Roman Empire that let me just read the comments here first. They were Trump guests in 2025. Yes, I don't know who they are, so for this, okay? I just thought the video was interesting, and that is why I showed it. Surfer this one is interesting. Yes, the worst part is that there's not a day off when you're afloat. No going out to town. Exactly. It must be horrible. You know, how is a person supposed to recharge and to be able to? But then again, you look at the entire mentality of the United States, where you don't have days off, where you barely have any vacation if you have it, and when you have it, when you have this culture of continuously being on the clock, of working overtime, and the common goal of being money, of having money, of having this, of having that. And what is happening right now in the military, where there used to be some kind of organization, you know, militaries, they had healthcare, they had pay, they have lodge, they had food. Not even in the militaries they are getting that. And that is unfortunate. But that is exactly what is happening. But when you start to destroy your own military, both by exhausting yourself in a useless war and by not treating them correctly, you are risking rebellion. I'm not kidding, and I'm not being doom and gloom. I'm just stating the obvious. Like I was starting to say, I once read in a history book when they were talking about the Roman emperors, and one of the Roman emperors, when he was dying, and this was the in the time of the empire, after when emperors started to rule Rome by force. That emperor, when he was dying, he told this to his heirs, to his children that would inherit the power after him when he died. He told them this. He told them, keep the soldiers near you, or the legions, okay? But keep the soldiers near you. Pay them well, treat them well, and all the rest will be all right. And they are not wrong. Even the dictatorship here in Portugal, it only started to waver. It was during the colonial war, when more and more soldiers started to die, when the military needed supplies and needed logistic support, and there was none. Basically, when the military said that it was the dictatorship had gone long enough. And back in 1926, when the dictatorship started here in Portugal, it was the militaries that precisely decided that the country needed a dictatorship. And in 1974, they were the ones that decided that the dictatorship needed to end. And to this day, in our constitution, you want to know who is the final line of defense of our democratic state? It's the army. The army, the military, the armed forces. Okay, it includes all, includes the navy, it includes everyone. In a case that someone is trying to subvert our democracy, we are a republic, the military, they have the legal authority to take over power and to reestablish the democratic rule. To this day. Because this is a lesson a lot of people should learn. We are not living in a perfect world, and we need to have military. Even a small country like us, especially a small country like ours. And you need to keep them happy. You need to have them equipped, or else they are going to transform themselves into a force against you. And I don't know if you have seen this, perhaps Surfadesk that is in the United States can talk about it, but you have seen that a lot of people, of high-ranking people in the army, in the armed forces, they have been resigning. They have been leaving the administration. I don't recall his name, but this morning I was listening to in the news that the main military advisor of Trump, he resigned. Okay, the army, the navy, everyone, they have told Mr. Trump that this is not going anywhere. Make peace and get the hell out of there. They have moved the main battleship, main carrier that was in the Pacific to protect the allies in the Pacific into the region to replace the one that's called, I think it's the Lincoln, okay? That is right now there. The military told Trump that the homeland would not be able to defend itself if someone attacked it. Think about it. Think about how low this has gone. When your military tells you that we cannot defend our bloody country. Let me just read this one. I saw something. Because US just doesn't have enough ships. And look at the debacle waiting to go through Suez. Exactly. Surface, I can't help to think how ironic it is that the CIA tried to do in South America during the 50s and the 70s happening in that house. Yes, exactly. That is also interesting. Also interesting is the alleged interference by CIA and Mossad in what is happening right now in Ceuta. That is also interesting. And that is a subject that I'm going to keep on. I heard it that they are going to discuss it in the EU Commission, in the EU Parliament channel. I'm going to keep my ears peeled to see if they are going to talk about it. But first, I only heard rumors, and then right now I'm starting to listen to this little rumor in a lot of news here in Europe. I heard it in German news. I heard it in Italian and in Spanish too news. This will be interesting. But now, folks, I'm going to show you another video, and this one is about Trump's childhood vaccine order and the consequences, that it's going to have to the United States now and in the future. Let's watch this video.
Trump's order moves COVID-19, influenza, rotavirus, meningitis, RSV, and hepatitis A and B vaccines from universal vaccination schedules. Some of these vaccines will continue to be recommended for children at a higher risk, while others will be given based on a decision between parents and their doctors. Decisions as such can have catastrophic consequences that would not end at the US border, Head of Public Health Threats at European Medicines Agency, Marco Cavalieri said.
Withdrawing important vaccination and key vaccination that we have available at the moment, it will be catastrophic from a public health perspective because it would mean the return of diseases that we were able to contain and delete from our countries and our jurisdiction thanks to vaccines that are very effective.
Europe has already seen the consequences of falling vaccination coverage. 6 countries, Armenia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Uzbekistan, have lost measles-free status following spikes in cases in 2024.
We already now seeing the return of measles whenever, the vaccination coverage gets lower for whatever reason, including in Europe, and we will see more coming, unfortunately, in the United States and other parts of the world. So really the examples are already there, but it could get much worse. Just think about poliomyelitis. Do we want this to come back? Do we want to see our children, living in an iron lung? I hope not. And we got very effective vaccines, so we need to continue to push hard in making sure that our children get protected with proper vaccination.
The White House decision also calls for the combined MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella, to be split into 3 separate shots.
There is no scientific basis to split these vaccines. All the scientific data that we have at hand, they are showing that the combination of these 3 different vaccines is safe and effective, convenient, ensure high coverage, and is very practical both for healthcare workers, but also importantly for children and parents that don't have to go through multiple visits, multiple punctures, and therefore, with the risk that might be missing some vaccination, or some vaccination may get delayed with the risk that they get infected in the meanwhile.
Health experts warn the decision could further undermine vaccine confidence also in Europe. Steep decline in vaccine confidence are a worrying trend, most notable in Eastern and Central Europe, according to the Commission's report in 2022.
This type of decisions, unfortunately, could be very detrimental in terms of vaccine confidence, unless we really explain to people that there is no scientific basis and there is no reason to change what we have been doing successfully until now.
In an interconnected world, falling vaccination coverage in one country can increase the risk of outbreaks elsewhere.
These infectious diseases are causing global problems, global outbreaks, global epidemics. And so the more united we are and the more we work together, the better it's going to be in limiting the effect of the return of such infectious diseases.
All right, folks, let me just read your comments. Viper Scott, this is Surfer Desk. No, my friend, I understood, okay? No words. Viper Scott, this is a money grab for the private and medical companies. So now it's going to triple the cost of folks in the USA. It might be higher. Yes, perhaps. But Talista, you want to know what is the most serious consequence of all of this? I'm going to tell you. The most serious consequences of all of this will be in the freedom of American citizens to travel and even to reside in Europe. Because what I'm going to see is exactly what I saw here in my country when it came to COVID. When it came to COVID, you had a couple of lunatics that didn't want to be vaccinated, that didn't want this, that didn't want that. And the government simply issued laws stating that if you are not vaccinated, then you cannot work. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot enter in a public space. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot enter in an hospital. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot do anything. And here in Portugal, if you don't vaccinate your children, even if you are from an immigrant background, if you don't vaccinate your children, the state is going to take your children away from you, or it's going to force you to vaccinate your children. Because here, and this is the main difference, and don't get me wrong, okay? If you go to Switzerland, for example, they have an issue with vaccines too, because there are a lot of people that don't want to be vaccinated, and you have a lot of idiots all over Europe that, for religious or for ideological reasons, don't want to vaccinate themselves. But the truth is this: the states in Europe, they are not going to take this shit sitting down. And so Mr. Trump, he can do whatever the hell he wants to do in his country. But what is going to find is then, for example, imagine that someone in America, they want to come here to Portugal to spend a couple of vacation. Then they are going to have to present a vaccination card. And if they don't have the vaccines, they won't be able to enter in the country. They won't be able to work in the country. This happened with COVID, with a couple of UK citizens. I don't know if Alistair remembers this, but a couple of them, they didn't want to take the vaccine, and then they were all appalled because they were stopped from entering in Portugal and Spain. the exact same thing is going to happen to these Americans. I will give you this example. Last year, when I had my health problems, when I was stung by the bee and I in the head, and I was having all of those health problems that I talked with you folks about, and that I had to go often to the healthcare center here. I just arrived there, and the nurse, she told me, look, you need to take your tetanus boost, because every so often you have to take a boost for your tetanus vaccine. And she looked at me and she says, and you should oh yes, and you have to take the measles one too. And I even told her, but why? Are we having measles again? And she just told me this, yes, there's a measles alert, so you can either take the vaccine now voluntarily, it's here, you just take it, or sooner or later you are going to get a call to come to the health center and get your measles vaccine. And by the way, to any American watching me, it cost me zero, okay? It didn't cost me absolutely anything. The only vaccine that you pay for here is and this if you are not over 65 or with any kind of health problem that makes you weaker, you have to pay around, I don't know, I think it's €3 or something like that for the flu vaccine, because the flu vaccine is not considered to be essential. And you should only take it when you are older or if you have any kind of health problem. What Mr. Trump is going to do, he's going to muddy up all the waters, because suppose this. Imagine that in the future you are going to build a manufacturer in the United States, and you are bringing stuff from South Korea, like those poor guys and girls that were jailed by ICE in Illinois as illegals. The Mazda factory, that I think they moved the factory to Canada. Good on them. But imagine that. And then you have people that are applying for a position in the shop, in the manufacturer, and they are not vaccinated. Would you take those people on? I wouldn't, unless they got vaccinated. Look, Mr. Trump is taking decisions as if whatever it's that and Surface, you are from Puerto Rico, I think, okay? You will understand this. You know that sometimes the self-entitlement of the Americans is the worst thing that can be. And Mr. Trump, look, he's acting Billy Kershaw. I don't know if it was Mazda or Hyundai. I really don't know. I'm sorry. Hyundai, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. He's just thinking about the United States. He's looking at this, and he has that lunatic of RFK talking about it. And some of the things that RFK says, they're actually good. Eating natural food, not processed food, eating better. Yes, that is all fine and dandy. But when you start to mess with science and with vaccines that work, you are stepping into dangerous grounds. Let me just read this in Spanish. Libertad y liberdad no son lo mismo. In English, it would be debauchery is not the same as liberty. Too bad it does. Yes, but yes, you're correct. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. He's taking these decisions, Mr. Trump. And perhaps he thinks, just like with this entire shit in the Hormuz Strait, that he is now, this is another one in Viper Scott. We are going to start to talk about Mr. Trump and his friends also. Mr. Trump right now, he is sending his little minions to tell other NATO countries that if they do not support the USA's political and military position in the world, then they are going to remove their NATO assets from their countries. He's probably directing himself to Spain, for example. If they do not do this, then the US is going to do this and going to do that. He thinks he has this infantile idea that he's sitting in the White House, he's taking a decision, and everyone will obey it. You want to know what is going to happen to Billy Bob from Dallas when he tries to go on a vacation to China or to Japan or here to Europe? He's going to when he's going to be trying to get his visa, or for example arriving at the airport, you're coming from the United States, show me your vaccine card, please. And Billy Bob is going to say something like, I don't need no vaccines, that's against the law of God. And Billy Bob is going to be put back in a plane and sent back to sender. This is what is going to happen. Right now, I have heard about American citizens that were applying for residence here that had to go to the healthcare and get their vaccines. This is exactly what is going to happen. Do you think we are not going to do the same thing we did to those sorry if I forgot, but to those British idiots that tried to come here without getting their COVID shot, and that were barred at the airport and sent back to sender? Do you think we are not going to do the same thing to the Americans? And you are dreaming. We even will do it quicker to the Americans. You want to know why? Because despite all of this shit in Brexit, Portugal and the UK still have reciprocity in certain things. So our Billy Bob from the United Kingdom, I don't know, a British name, Charles, let's call him Charles. So our Charles from the United Kingdom, unlike our Billy Bob that is sent back to sender, Charles will be given an option to take the shots to enter. That is the only difference. But this is going to backfire in the United States. It also is going to backfire in terms of influence all over the world. What kind of medical company that is producing vaccines, that is innovating in vaccines, what kind of company like that is going to install itself in the United States? You like that one? Charles. You know, the medical companies, they are going to run away from the United States. Just like when we were talking about the drone production and all of that, the factories, the manufacturers, the companies, they are going to run away from the United States. You already have large American companies removing their assets from the US market, from the dollar, and investing in euros. They're not investing in yen. Okay? They're not investing in yens. So far, I have heard of Amazon, Microsoft, and there was another one that I can't remember, but it was a company in Unilever or something like that, that is in the food business. All of those companies, they are secretly investing in euros. And now, I'm glad you guys are having fun. All right. Now, let's talk about the money. let's talk about the yen, let's talk about the dollar, let's talk about all of it so that you understand. The first thing I'm going to tell you is this. When the United States announced this move of purchasing yen to prop up the value of the Japanese currency, the yen, the euro went down to $1.12. 3 days later, the euro was already at the level that it is now, that is $1.16. And it continues to increase every week. The dollar is becoming less and less and less and less valuable. Why? Because the dollar, you have to understand this. Some people talk about the petrodollar, but it goes beyond that. The dollar is valuable because it was used as the common currency in the trades between states and groups of states, like for example the EU. Those groups, like for example the EU has the euro, the UK has the sterling pound, China has the yuan, Japan has the yen, whatever, you understand, India has the rupee, whatever. But when they were, for example, establishing the value of something, they would establish that value in dollars. And right now, what is happening? The BRICS countries, and for example China with certain countries, they are doing something which is direct transfer. This means that instead of calculating in dollars, they calculate in the local currency, and then they ship that exact value to the country that is receiving the money. This is something like the EU already is doing here with what is going to replace Visa in I think in a year or two it's going to be replacing Visa, which is the direct money transfer, meaning direct transfers between banks no matter where you are in the EU. So if, for example, I'm here in Portugal and Poland that it still has its zloty, and I want to buy something there or transfer funds there, I will transfer the exact value in euros that will be equivalent to the exact value in zloty. Do you understand? It's a bit complicated, but this is how things work. More than that, the EU, for example, considered all of the US assets, the US bonds, the investment in US companies, they consider them all high risk investments. So they were put in a bubble outside of the economy. Not completely outside of the economy, but outside in the way that if they are considered high risk, then, for example, if you are investing in American bonds, the state will not give you compensation if those bonds go down the drain. And if you are investing in American companies, then if that investment bursts and it goes down the drain, then the countries of the EU will not pay you a cent for it. Let me just read this comment. Viper Scott is making asking something here. Are the USA debt going on the market that's held by EU countries yet? No. The EU is still holding American debt. So is the United Kingdom in Europe. Okay. In Europe, the EU and the United Kingdom still hold. But look, that is a chance. That is one of the risks that Trump is taking if he tries to pressure Europe too much. This was clearly told to him. And if the EU does that, they will sink the American market, sink it completely, to the level that a loaf of bread will cost like in Weimar Republic, Germany, where you needed a pack of bills to buy a loaf of bread. That can happen, but I think that is the nuclear weapon, so to speak, in terms of economics. But as I was saying, the EU did this. China, they did the same thing. A lot of countries did this. This means that if the American economy crashes, of course, it will affect the world's economy. We are talking about a country that was still last year around 12% of the world's economy, 12 to 13% according to some. So it will have some effect, but it won't have a core effect in the global markets. What I'm trying to tell you is this: if the giant falls, it falls on itself. Now, meanwhile, Japan, that has a budget deficit issue, purchased a lot of EU currency, a lot of EU bonds, a lot of EU debt. And in exchange for that, the United States could spend that debt. If you understand what I'm trying to say. The USA would go to a house called Japan, they would sell their debt to someone in Japan, and that someone, the banking system, would give money to the United States. And then the United States could use that money. What Japan told the United States was as simple as this: look, buying your debt is no longer sustaining our economy. So we are going to have to sell your debt. We are going to have to get rid of it. And the United States said this: no, wait a minute. We'll buy some yen to prop up your economy. And they did. Exotic doll, hello. About the wildfires. Yes, you have my promise. I will talk about it, okay? Let me just finish this part, okay? Because this is very important. As I was telling you, the USA bought yens, and that caused the value of the Chinese yen to go up. It went up from around 170 something euro in value to the euro, 1 euro to 170 yen to 182 yen or something like that. But the issue here is that this had no effect on the European economy. It had none, because it was bubbled. And in my view, this was a test by someone in the United States to see if this would really happen. And now, okay, now we have this situation, and I'm going to explain this to you. The debt is increasing again, because the problem with the American company, with the American economy, is that it is mortally in debt. When the United States had the dominion over the Western markets, over the oil market, by being the reference currency, when that happened, the United States could have the money to sustain its economy in eternal debt. When Trump arrived, he literally killed off the geese that the golden goose. Okay, you know what I'm trying to tell you. He tried to force other countries, empire style, to do whatever he wanted to do. Because Viper Scott, he's in it for the grift. He and his family are there, the Kushners, they are there just to earn money. Money, honey. And to cover up for his criminal activities, like the ones that are described in the Epstein files. Okay, you have to understand this. Sometimes we look for a grandiose Project 25. This is all about money. For example, the United States wants a weaker Europe, because a weaker Europe you can take advantage of and you can suck the money out of it. What happened in the United Kingdom with Brexit was a test. Viper Scott, Billy Kershaw, for example, Exotic Doll, you live in the UK. Tell me, how is the union now? Weaker, divided, and at the mercy of the American corporations. This is the bloody truth. It's all about the money. It's all about greed. People look into, imagine that all this shit that Trump is doing, it's all a theater, so that you don't see what they are really doing. And they are profiting millions, billions. Their big issue is this. Number one, they are having some backlash inside of USA itself by other people just like them that want to calm the waters, so that in the future they can continue to profit on the American people and on the situation globally. And these people, they already know that the 100 years of American empire is ended, and all they can do right now is figure out a way in which they are going to continue to get some profit, even if the peasants get screwed. They don't give a crap about the people that are in the bottom. They know perfectly well they are going to have to remove their military influence from the world. And there are other actors that are already on the prowl. Russia is trying to see if it can catch a weaker Europe, and it's getting a very nasty surprise. Right now there is a very nasty surprise. Just last week, a German military brigade installed itself in the Baltic states just last week, permanently. It will be composed of 5,000 soldiers. Okay? Folks, you have to understand this. The reason why I stopped talking, and in this stream I talked a little about him, the reason why I talked about Mr. Trump is so that you can see what is really behind this. Who is suffering? The military. Why? Because they are not, because if this guy was really intending on invading Cargill and doing all of this shit, he would feed the sailors. He would pay the sailors, because he knows perfectly well that he will need it. If this guy was really serious in doing anything else except greed, he would do something else. Let me just read the chat here. exactly down. My MP is Reformed Deputy Richard Sykes. Oh God, I'm sorry. So I live in the right-wing region of England. Unfortunately, I was born in Liverpool and schooled in London, so I do not think the same as my right-wing neighbors. Must be hard. Yep. Didn't Romania just shut down its last nuclear reactor due to the Danube's low water? There are a couple of nuclear reactors in Europe, in several places. In Romania, I don't know, but in France, I think in Spain, they have reduced the activity because of the lack of water. Yes, that is true. Exotic, Dom. I'm really sorry for you. It must be hard to live in such a place. But look, folks, I would like to talk more about the environment and all of it, but I've been streaming for more than 2 hours, and I think it's about time we go to the final conclusions, so that I can tell you, I can get this thing out of my chest that has been running around here, because I have been calculating these things in my head. All of these things that Mr. Trump is doing, all of it, it's solely for the purpose of getting money. I don't know if there are forces behind them that want something else. We know, of course, that Israel is behind all of this. But it's not behind of it running the United States, like I heard some people talk about, trying to excuse the people in the United States as mere puppets. Okay? But the issue here is that Israel and the United States are together in this thing for different reasons. The gamble of Israel has already backfired. Even if they are able to retain areas of Lebanon, even if they are able to complete their genocide in Palestine and assassinate more Palestinians, they are over. They are going to be crushed by the countries around them. And this time there will be no 6 days war, where their epic defense, subsidized by other countries, will be able to do anything about it. And if you think I'm happy about this, then you have not heard a word of what I'm saying. I am not happy to know that the Israeli people are going to suffer in the future. Even those bloody idiot settlers that are doing what they are doing to the Palestinians. Because you see, when someone suffers in this world, it's bad for all of us. These things have a tendency to accumulate and continue to the future. The person that is being abused right now is going to be an abuser in the future. I told you that I suffered racism when I was a kid because I spoke German with my grandfather. And I refused to transform myself into a racist myself. And it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy to fall into the traps of the right wing, and to transform myself into one of those persons. And I refused to do it. You want to know why? Because I like to think. And now I'm talking about ourselves. Look, I'm not polishing my ego or saying anything. I'm saying this because it might serve as an example for someone that is younger than me and that is listening to this and that is finding themselves in the same backwaters, let's call it like this, in the same sorry, the words are failing. 2 hours of stream, okay? But I'm saying this because people need to understand what is going on. Don't look up. Because while we are, look, the Albania fiasco with the Kushners, it's a prelude of what they are doing. I'm absolutely sure that people like the sons of Trump, his family, and Trump himself, I'm absolutely sure they are already sending their money away, so to speak, because they know that this cannot last very long. But Trump is going to do the most damage that he can do. He's going to continue with this theater, and my only fear, okay, and my only fear is that someone that is actually a competent fascist takes over the Trump torch, and then we will have a real issue. I once read a sci-fi tale about a guy that goes back in time and assassinates Hitler when he's a little boy, thinking that that he would be able to stop Nazism. And then when he returns to the future, he finds out that the world has been taken over by the Nazis, because since there was no Hitler, a more competent fascist took over his place, someone that actually knew how to win a war, and he won the war, and Nazi Germany won World War II. Okay? This is what we should all be looking for. When we see that the theater is nearing the end, we are going to have to watch out. He's trying to mess with voting. He's trying to mess with a lot of things, but he's getting barred everywhere. All right? And we have to be careful here in Europe too, because right wing is rising here too, and it's rising in a different way. They are associating themselves. So we might find, and I talked about this in the last video, we might find ourselves in a position where we will have an imperialistic EU dominated by right-wing politics, and that would also be an extreme danger to the world. Okay, let me see what you folks are saying this in the chat. In the same position you were in. I think you can understand, Pepper Scott. The 7 seconds of no gravity, yes. NASA had to put out a statement. Oh, Albanian mafia. Yes, exotic doll. I know. They're. Look, I need to end this, but exotic doll. Albanian mafia are linked to the European super mafia, and they do whitewash, launder money for Irish gangs like the Kinahans. Dump could be associating Albanians to launder dirty estate money. Yes, look. There's mafia everywhere. Even here in Portugal we have mafia. Okay. Now, but exotic doll. Since you asked it, and I think the chat will also agree with it, I'm going to make either a video or I'm going to make a stream and dedicate it to climate change. Okay? Next one. Next stream, perhaps we will talk about it, or I'll make a big video about it, talking about it, because it's also important, because I think we are going to have a couple of surprises during winter, because the fresh air that should have come down, and it's not coming. We are having this heat wave. It's accumulating up north. Let's see what happens. Now, folks, I'm going to end the stream. I would like to thank you all for coming. Let me see if I don't forget anyone of the ones that appeared. Okay, Billy Kershaw, Viper Scott, Sophides, Exotic Doll. Look, I would like to thank you all for coming, for listening to me and my rants. All right, Sophides and Saz also. Almost forgot about you. Sorry, and anyone lurking. Okay, but Sophides, no, I will announce it. Okay, I will announce it. I will put a post on so everyone can know. Okay, folks, stay safe, take care of yourselves. Okay, it's very hot. They are saying, at least in South Europe, the hottest day will be tomorrow. And look, we all need to take care of ourselves because this is really bad. Now, folks, thank you all for coming and have a great weekend. Okay, and stay safe. Thank you.